Hello, 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 and welcome back to an all-new episode here on the Survivor podcast. As always, my name is Darius Cook, your resident Survivor nerd, and today I am joined by a legendary guest, right? He has been a contestant on the Circle reality game show competition on Netflix. He is also the creator and host of a new reality competition game show called The Spotlight. Today I am joined by Alex Brizard. Alex, what's going on, man?
Oh, I'm happy to be here, Darius. Thank you so much for having me. As mentioned, I love all things reality TV, The Circle. I've even got my own project going. I've been watching Survivor since I was 6 years old. So this is my life, and happy to be here and happy to discuss with you today.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so, like I said, he is the creator and host of The Spotlight. This is a new competition game show. I had the honor of competing on episode 3. So, if you want to check that out, all the information will be on the screen and in the notes of the episode description. So, I had so much fun doing that. We are going to be talking Survivor 50, but before we do you want to just let the audience know at home, like a little bit about Spotlight, like just
Yeah.
to whet their appetite?
Of course. Spotlight is it's an online reality game. You play it over Zoom, so anyone has the opportunity to play. You don't need to get up off the couch. You could sit at home from the comfort of your own home. It's a social strategy game made for gamers by gamers. I think that is the important thing is myself and everyone on our team has such a passion for these sort of games and social strategies and shows that we just needed an outlet of some sort, and that is where Spotlight was born. We recently just started back in March, but it is a passion project I've been working on for like 6 years. We started it during COVID, and it's finally hit audiences' screens, and the response has been crazy. And so go check out our YouTube. We have 3 episodes up, and if you want to apply, get an application in, and you could be like Darius. He was out there slaying it. I won't spoil how the episode went, but if you enjoy Darius, you will enjoy the episode for sure.
Yeah, that's right. I had such a good time doing it. I'm so impressed at the product that you have created with it. Such a good time. If anyone enjoys Survivor, traders, anything like that, they're gonna
Yeah.
have fun with this, no doubt about it. I also plan on having a few other of the competitors and contestants from
Ooh.
episode 3. So anyone who checks that out will have something to look forward to here on the
Love it.
podcast moving forward.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what we came here to talk about, which is Survivor 50. We had a crazy episode with Mr. Beast, with an auction. A lot went down. Before we break down this specific episode, 10 episodes in, how are you feeling about Survivor 50 as a longtime fan?
Whew, that is such a good question. I feel like I'm in like a toxic relationship with Survivor 50. You never know what you're going to get this week. It could be one of the best episodes you've ever seen, or, we could have Christian's puzzle being yanked off the side of the raft. So it has been a lot of ups and downs. I will say, as a Survivor fan, I'm used to that. 26 years. Some seasons are peak, some seasons are not. It is interesting we're getting all of this in one season. And I think what is most interesting to me about 50 is we are getting shades of like old school, new era, what works here, what works elsewhere. And so it is fun watching Survivor players from all different eras come together. I have my critiques on production now that I've got my game design hat on as well.
Yeah.
There are some things that are not working for me in that regard, but I will say, and I was a critic of it before the season started, the cast has been quite a joy and they are playing really hard. And I think at the end of the day, that's, all we can really ask for.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the conversation around Survivor 50 has developed over these last few weeks, right? Even just before the season started,
Right.
I too had a lot of skepticism based on the cast and what we were going to get this season. But it's been everything. It's been bad. It's been good. It's been questionable. And in a weird way, that kind of does represent all of what Survivor has been over these years, right?
Right.
It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And like, I feel like once all is said and done, we're not going to be able to point to this and say this was a bad version of season 50 or necessarily perfect. It's going to be somewhere in between, which has been Survivor, especially in the new era, right? A mixed bag, to say the least.
Completely agree with that. Let me ask you out of the gate, these fan votes in the hands of the fans, how much do you feel like this season was genuinely in the fans' hands?
Yeah, if that might be one of the biggest airballs
Yeah.
from a production point of view. I mean, when they first announced that, that sounds cool on paper. If we're voting in the cast or something like that, right? But in what we actually got in terms of the fan votes, during 48, the things that we're actually voting for, from a fan perspective, so lackluster. I mean, I
Super.
was waiting for the next round of votes. I thought we weren't done. I thought these were just the warm up votes. Now let's
Same.
get to the interesting stuff, right? But no, it's interesting. I would have wished we could have voted on like, do you want a Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol or a Mr. Beast twist or something that felt
Please.
more tangible, right?
Right. The Billie Eilish Boomerang Idol is one that really fooled me because when it first got introduced, I was like, oh, this is such a fun idea. And as the season's gone on, I was like, this is actually a terrible idea for idols. And I think I'm okay with the boomeranging aspect. You got to give it to someone. I don't love that Genevieve found two idols and then had to give both of them away. But, it's interesting, it's new. But what I've come to realize is it has set up so poorly, they cannot give that idol to anyone else. They cannot play that idol on anyone else. And everyone in the game knows they have these idols. It takes away all the player agency out of what an idol really is. And so that has been a bit of a disappointment for me. But like we talked about, when it first hit my screen, I was like, oh, this is so fun, new and innovative. And then as it's gone on, we just have Ozzy and Rizzo sitting on these idols. And everyone knows they have them, so they're too scared to even throw a vote their way.
Yeah, and I actually want to dig more into the Billie Eilish of it all because I'm with you that, especially starting off, I thought the Boomerang Idol was the coolest mechanic ever invented in the game.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a chance if this idol sticks around throughout the 50s, I think there's a genuine chance that we see this lead to some really interesting and dynamic situations. But I agree, what we saw, this out of the gate, it's so disappointing. The fact that you cannot use it on anybody else, I think, is a flaw. I think that's something that you can tweak for sure moving forward. But it's hard. One of the biggest blemishes on Survivor 50 is the fact that Genevieve found two idols that she had to give away. She never heard about a Boomerang idol before. So, like, in any other season, Genevieve would be the man right now. We would be like, Genevieve is the GOAT.
Right.
She deserves to win the season for finding two in the pre-merge, no less. I mean, It's crazy.
It was really rough because her and Aubrey had this feud. Genevieve found two idols and had to gift them away, where Aubrey was gifted an idol because she was voted out with one before. Like, we're rewarding Aubrey's past bad gameplay. And so this is one thing with Survivor in the new era in particular. I just feel like they don't think out their twists fully. They're like a kid in a candy shop where they hear this idea and they're like, yeah, that's cool. I don't even care what happens. That sounds fun. And they don't think about like the repercussions. Like Ozzy and Rizzo's idol, even both of those feel very hollow. If they idol someone out to me, I'm not going to be like, they did it, because like they were just, Ozzy was gifted that idol because he was voted out with an idol before. It's right. It just hasn't, and Jeff keeps blaming us. Like we did this to them. I didn't vote for this. This is not what I voted for.
No, in the way they worded it in the vote, if we can go back a little bit, I mean, do you want it to be straightforward and boring, or do you want it to be dynamic? I mean, that's how they put it.
It was so skewed. The voting was ridiculous how they worded these things. They're like, do you want a boring, lackluster, zero advantage season? Or do you want cool, fun, dynamic? And it's like, wait, I don't really know which one I want anymore.
I just want idols.
Yeah.
That's what I really want.
Yes, I'm the same way.
Exist. That's it,
Yes, yep, I was the same way. Yeah. So, once again, like you said, good and bad aspects here with it. I was excited to vote when it first happened, and then the votes started rolling out, and I was like, okay, I mean, it's kind of fun voting the tribe colors. That's cool. Yeah.
Come on. I've never cared about colors. I've never cared about what logo represents the tribe either of the season. Like that means nothing.
Yeah, like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So, and then we have famous fans who get more votes than the rest of us fans. So
yeah, in the hands of the fans, but the fans are Jimmy Fallon and Billie Eilish. Yes, you're right.
So it's been interesting, but I will say, despite the ups and downs of this season, I had a real fun time in this week's episode. I'm really glad I'm actually talking about this episode with you, because if you had caught me last week, this conversation would have been totally different.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Boomerang, I feel like I've had like a Boomerang experience as a fan going from last week to this week because of that. You know, Christian really got the short end of the stick of the celebrity involvement, but Rick Devens got the great side. I mean, it's night and day the experience that these two guys had that were working together and are just a single day apart.
Yeah.
It's wild.
One day apart is crazy too. And I think what is so interesting about it is both celebs are named Jimmy, and so that was funny. But I think that, how do I phrase this? So Christian losing the puzzle, we see how bad this twist is. He has to go back. Even, I don't love voting for yourself in general, but the fact he has to go back and read it in front of the whole tribe was just absurd to me. Like, that part was the real issue I had. So we got to see the negative of that. Whereas if he won, maybe no one's even talking about the Jimmy Fallon, what have you, the one in the urn, whatever. Like, it would have been a real non-factor for a lot of things. I think we also have the same situation here for Rick Devens, but the opposite.
The inverse effect of it, right?
The inverse, where Rick Devens got the fun side of, but if Rick Devens hits tails here, I think we are up in arms. We are calling this the worst twist. Like, this twist objectively was poorly designed, in my opinion. But at the same time, I can't lie, my heart was racing when he was flipping that coin in the air. So there's some good to it, but like, Survivor production as a whole, to me, feels like they don't trust their players and their product anymore, and they feel like they really have to like move the pieces themselves. And so that's what I don't like, but I can't sit here and say like I was not thrilled this episode. So it's tough to weigh the two.
So I gotta say, I might Emily flip and push back on you a little bit here in that I think that, you know, from a game design, if he had gotten tails on it, at least in the case of Rick Devens in particular, I'm pretty okay with that having been the outcome, especially because we opened this episode with him acknowledging the fact that he's on the bottom. He essentially manifested this whole situation because he's on the bottom. He wants to shake things up. He wants to go balls to the wall. And so, in the second that this, you know, coin flip came up, he was the first person signing up for it. He knew that he wanted to play this win or lose. So, from a fan perspective, I wouldn't have been disappointed seeing Devens go home because he wanted the smoke. You know what I mean? Now, if multiple people were vying for it and we ended up going to Rocks for it, and then, I don't know, let's say a Joe ends up going home who had no interest in playing this gamble, right? He just kind of got screwed. Then I'm with you. I would have felt pretty disappointed by that.
So there's the flip. One, the Rocks aspect. They were going to force someone to flip this coin. I don't love that at all. The other part of this is, yeah, like Rick Devens was hyped to do it, but think of the scramble and the strategy that happened on this beach on day 19. There was so much game that was played in this one day, and a flip of the coin almost negated all of it. So here's my thing. Send Rick Devens home. He failed. He got tails. He's out. Still do tribal. I don't like that it was going to just, all right, we're done here, because that would have also, once again, it's this hollow feeling of like, well, hold on. Like, there was a whole bunch of names being thrown out and scrambling and strategy, and that's just all gone now. That part would have bugged me. And like you're saying, the Rocks, if someone who wasn't into this had to flip it, we would, even if they hit the 2 million, jackpot, I still think we'd be like, oh, that was, I don't like that we made Aubrey do this, or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I think you're making a great point here. And I wonder, for the Rocks of it all, do you think it would have been a better design to have them vote somebody to have to flip it?
Way better. Have them vote someone to take the chance. It's a 2-hour episode. We have the time. We can do it. Like, just do the vote. And so I agree. The Rocks aspect was really bugging me. The no tribal after a fail was really bugging me. But we didn't have to do any of that. We got all the fun side of it. So, like, I'm sitting here, I'm nitpicking, but, like, it was, I really like Rick Devens from season 38, and it's not that I've disliked him in this season, but I would say he's in a bit more of the back seat until recent episodes. Man, this episode reminded me why I love Rick Devens. He said, I want to flip that coin. He barely hesitated, and everyone else there was like, I don't know.
Huh?
He said, I'll freaking do it. Give me the coin. And that is what I love. Like, yeah, this is a game now for $2 million. I want people to be taking it seriously. I want people to be doing that. But I also want them to be having fun. Mm-hmm. Like, it translates to the audience when these players are having fun. And I feel like too many people equate like, oh, if you're just playing whatever, la-di-da, like, you don't care. But like, Rick Devens is the perfect intersection of like, I'm playing to win, but I'm also playing to have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I made a TikTok today talking about this, that I don't always think about it like this, because I'm a bit, when I watch Survivor, I'm thinking about what would I do? I'm a little bit of a game bot. And
Sure.
Often the safe thing to do is to be quiet, especially in the new era. Let the twist happen, let people kind of get themselves out, essentially, and then see what's left when you get towards Final 5, Final 6. But Rick Devens just spat in the face of the entire new era and showed them this is how you play. And it reminded me of that spirit. And it feels like it's something that's been lost since like the early 30s, really. And we have this more conservative game style. Rick Devens is the kind of player I want to see every season. And we do have a few of them this season. I would say, Rizzo is similar to that, even though we haven't seen him really get the opportunity to play that way. Even Emily is less out loud, but every time someone comes to her with a vote, she's ready to do the opposite thing as well. Like, she is ready to play a chaotic and engaging game as well. But I do think the new era in particular needs to see this. I'm hoping this will renew some of this energy into our screens.
I feel in the new era, and you summed it up pretty well, I do feel like in the new era, there's too many players that are playing not to lose and not playing to win. They're just playing to make the next day, and then I'll figure it out from there. But like, you gotta play to win. You can get to the end. Getting to the end is, well, I was gonna say it's easy. It's not easy, but getting to the end is one aspect of it. You have to play to win to get those jury votes, and things like what Rick Devens did. I'm not saying it's this big resume builder or whatever, but people can actionably look at this and be like, man, he was all in. Even 2 weeks ago, even his fake idol gambit, it's the same concept of like, he's here to win. He's not here to just let people vote him out. And we could get into it, but the players that were so like, I can't believe Rick Devens would pull out this idol and make a big show about it. Are we supposed to just let you guys vote him out? What? Yeah. He's always doing whatever he can to gain some control, to make it to the next vote. He's not just like, oh, well, I don't want to piss them off because if I am here next time, then they might not want to work with me. And it has been, like I started at the top of the podcast with, it has been such a joy to see all these different styles of gameplay. And I agree with you. I hope people take some of this Rick Devens, this fake idol, the Emily Flippin, the Christian, I hope they take that with them as they move forward. And I'm sure we'll talk about everyone, but like Cirie, I think is someone who is the perfect intersection of like all of it. And so it's really fun having her preside over everything that's kind of going on.
Dude, this, I was going to move on to a different topic, but now that you brought
it up,
Cirie has been such a delight this season, and I feel like the edit really understands what to show about Cirie at this point, because it's like everything we see from her is a perfect explanation or a perfect example of what Cirie does best in all of her seasons, and we're debatably seeing the best version of Cirie we've ever seen. She says and does so little and gets the biggest outcome every single week. And I do not understand how people are not looking at Cirie as a problem for their game. Because in my opinion, if Cirie is sitting in the final three, she wins and it doesn't matter who she's sitting next to. I mean,
wrap it up. Signed, sealed, delivered. Yeah.
She's just playing such a masterful game. And I've heard people refer to it as Cirie magic. And I believe it. I think you get around Cirie, and I don't know if she has a pheromone or what she does around her, but they just fall under her spell and they just want to please her no matter what.
It is, it's something I mentioned to a lot of my friends early in the season, is the longer Cirie is in the game, the more dangerous she becomes. She gets her claws in there, and part of me is wondering, is like, because she's not good at challenges, because we've seen her lose fire multiple times across different iterations. Like, they lull themselves into this sense of like, well, she's not that big of a threat to me, but like, we saw her, where was it, where she came back from exile and everyone was like, well, this is what we're doing, and she's like, no, that's not what we're doing, and the whole script just totally flipped. And it's like, that is the Cirie power. We've seen her do it on Big Brother, we've seen her do it on The Traitors, we've seen her do it on Australian Survivor. Like, it does not matter where she is able to socially integrate herself to a point where she is calling the shots and like no one seems to see it.
So do you think that people are just thinking that when we get to the final four for fire making, that everyone will just send her to fire? Like, everyone is just counting on that. Whoever wins, they wouldn't be dumb enough to just take her to the end. She's going to get out of fire.
I think there's only one person who would consider taking her to the final three versus sending her into fire. And I think that's Oscar. Yeah, Ozzy. But to me, that's like throwing the game. If you take Cirie to final three, it's over. No, who in the right mind would not vote for Cirie? One, because of her legacy, and two, the game she's played. It's not like she's just sitting back and resting on her big dog mentality. She is putting in work every single day on this beach, and it's a joy to watch as a fan, but I do worry that her ceiling might be fire making if she has not been practicing that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I have to imagine she must have practiced, right? Like,
she said in her pregame interview she has not been practicing, but I'm hoping she's lying to us, the fans, and like it's this grand spectacle. But we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, we will see. Okay. Let's lock back in here a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the big things this episode was the return of the Survivor auction. Very exciting. I'm curious what you thought about the auction overall, because I'll be honest, I'm a little bit. I could have taken or left it. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
What do you think of the auction?
I think as a longtime Survivor fan, it warms my heart. It's like the family visit. Does it have an impact on the game? No. But it's just so fun to see, and it clearly means so much to the players. The auction is, like a step below that. And so I loved seeing it back. And I think what I appreciated is, in the new era, they have combined the auction with these two twists every time. And the two twists, this is what I'm talking about with Survivor production, the two twists counteract each other. So the two twists in the auction in the new era have been, they run around the jungle and find different amounts of money. That's fine. That's kind of fun. I don't hate that. But you get to the auction, and the person with the most money at the end loses their vote at Tribal. There's zero reason not to go all in on an item when you have the most money. And for the 2 or 3 seasons they've done it in the new era, I have sat there and accurately predicted who's about to win what item, because there's no incentive to keep your money. There's no incentive to be like, well, let me spend half of it now. No, just go all in, get your money out, keep your vote, and get a food item. And so sure. I liked this aspect of the comfort and the chaos. It was fine, but we got some gross food eating, which is always a pleasure. And I just like the return to, like I said, the eras of Survivor. This gave me some real old school Survivor vibes. And so I get what you're saying, where it's like, for a 2-hour episode, did we need the auction? Probably not, but I enjoyed it. I liked seeing it, and I liked that we kept it true to form, if you will.
Yeah, I'm happy they did the auction. Coming in, I that was one of the things I needed to see this season. It's season 50. We got to have the auction. So I'm happy they did it for sure. Honestly, I wanted it to be more punishing. I felt like it was too nice. We just got a montage of everyone feasting and having a good time. I appreciated the two twists where, was Aubrey eating the worms for Rick? I loved that. My favorite moment for Aubrey the whole season, to be honest.
Agreed. I totally agree.
Yeah, and the twist where Jonathan has to eat the slug in order for Ozzy to get his reward. I think that's a very good twist. But I want more like blind betting, right? I'm gonna leave this covered.
I'll give you that.
Spend your money and it's an eyeball. Like that's the kind of stuff I love. I love it when people get punished for participating in the auction. I just felt like it was a little too nice. That's my only critique.
Totally agree. I can give you that for sure. Jeff has softened in his old age. It is just a fact of the matter. It's a little hard to see at times because, like, last week when he was doing the challenge and we got the montage of him roasting people in challenges. I was like, I just miss this. Like, I don't need it all the time, but like, I just miss it. And he says, he's like, oh, you know, this is gonna impact how I critique people in the future. And I'm like, Jeff, you've already softened. Like, you can't. There's
more soft.
we don't need more softness from you. Like, I think what I miss of Jeff, and by no means has he ever been a perfect narrator, orator, whatever. But like, I miss when I felt like he wasn't pulling punches at times.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I think the auction is a great example of that. I think he, in the past, would have done a ton more blind items. He would have had some bad ones in there, and I guess the editing, maybe they left him out, but I refuse to believe they would leave out someone eating, you know, something gross. Like, there was literally only 2. There was only the toys. And I guess Mr. Beast's Beware Advantage was the third, like, ooh, like chaos.
Yeah, well, and then the auction, it does culminate in them getting their loved one letters, which, like I said, you need to have the auction for Survivor 50. In my opinion, you needed to have loved ones coming out. And when I saw Mr. Beast, that's what I thought we were getting. I thought they would be able to bid on flipping a coin, and if you land it, you're out. That's what I thought.
I actually would have loved that. I would have loved that because I'm with you. The loved ones visit, once again, as a game bot strategist, is it needed? No. Granted, it has impacted some seasons in game in the past, so it's not like it totally is out of the realm of game possibility, but it's so heartwarming. And going on the circle, I'll admit, actually, the circle softened me up a little because before the circle, I was always like, why are they crying? They're going to see them in like 5 days. I was on the circle for half the time they're on Survivor, and when I got the video from my now wife, then girlfriend, I was bawling like a baby. Mm-hmm. And so what it really is the letters, the things from home, you are in a constant state of like stress, paranoia. It is very nice to hear from someone that you know loves you, has your best back. And so like even the small things of advice, like play with your head, not your heart. You're like, oh, I needed to hear, like it just hits differently from someone back home. And so I very much, like, before I went on the circle, I didn't always understand why they were. I'm like, oh, you got like 10 days left. You'll see them. I was on day 11 and I got a video and I was bawling. I was like, I can't believe all these years. I was like, and it hits you. It hits you in a place you didn't know. Cause like you know you're there with the stress and the paranoia of it all, but it's not till you're taken out of the game that you're really like, oh my God, like I've been on go for, 20 days.
Yeah, it's always shocking to see just how much a letter affects these people, right? We're seeing people whimpering like babies just from reading these letters. Cerise says, my father wrote me a letter for the first time, and that's like the most emotional we've ever seen Cerise in like all of her seasons. So it's interesting the effect that it has on them. I have to admit, personally, because usually I'm a crier on these episodes, okay? Whether the family comes or it's letters, seeing them cry, it always makes me cry on my couch. This episode, I don't know if it's because I got Mr. Beast on the mind. I think about this is one of the least that this emotionally affected me, I gotta say. And which is odd because I usually look forward to this point, and I'm usually a baby, but this one didn't have it for me. I don't know why.
I think it was because it was rushed. I think they, even in a 2-hour episode, I think they tried to fit too much into this episode. And we didn't get to see everyone read their letters. We literally got like quick highlights from 2 of them, and then 4 people got like a feature. And it just felt rushed, I think, is more than anything. And like you're saying, it really just made me be like, just bring them out here. Just bring them out here for us. It would, 50, if you're not going to do it at 50, it really is like, wow, they're never going to do it again.
Yeah, right? And it can't be that much. I really feel like Mr. Beast
Fiji Airway.
That one.
Mr. Beast gave him $1 million. You're telling me he wouldn't have paid for flights?
Yeah. But yes, but I digress. Perhaps I doth protest too much. It was still a happy moment,
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely was. Yeah, the Sari, I was expecting it to be Honey Bunny. I was like, I know HB so well at this point. I was like, maybe even Jared. I watched a whole Big Brother season with Jared, and it was her dad, and I was like, oh, that means so much. But she's in her 50s, and we see her crying about her dad, and it's like, man, we're all just kids at the end of the day to our parents. It's fun seeing that. But I think the reason it didn't feel as heartfelt as in the past is it felt rushed.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I agree with you. I think And I was looking forward to seeing Emily break down. We didn't really get a moment with Emily.
No.
Remember if we got a moment with Aubrey, but if we did, it wasn't big enough for me to really recall it.
Aubrey got the twofold because she talked about her daughter at the auction, which I didn't know she had a daughter. I feel like that's the first mention of it, or I've missed it. And then Aubrey's actually, her letter ended up being more like we got the flashback to Michelle winning, and it was like, yeah, it was very much like, oh wow, she's still like, rightfully so, she's still harboring like I should have won that season all those years ago. Mm-hmm. But I do wonder if it is. I mean, how do I say this? Like, obviously, it's going to impact the way she's playing, but I wonder if it's like really impacted her like survivor mentality. Like, I feel like when we first saw Aubrey, she had a strong strategic head on her mind, and I do feel like we see Aubrey like second guessing a lot of things now, which is not the Aubrey I remember falling in love with.
No, I feel that way. If we look at especially the returning players on this season, and it's interesting to look at how their survivor journey is affecting their mental state, right? Coach just becomes more coach. I've been praising Ozzy this season because I think that he still has some Ozzyisms that I think are biting him a little bit, but I do think this is the best version of Ozzy we've seen. Like, he's being measured, he's being careful, he's listening to advice where I don't think he would have necessarily listened to Cirie in the past. He would have been gung-ho. Cirie's at the top of her powers. Aubrey, of everyone on the returners, I feel like is the most burdened by her history. And I agree. It seems like she's second-guessing all of her choices, and she's really getting pressured by people around her, I feel like, and it's making her passive.
No, I think that's a really good way to put it. The Ozzy of it all is really interesting to me because if I had to place a bet on preseason, I would have been like, oh, he's going to target Cirie right out of the gate. That's going to be his number one ops. And so when he came in and was like, no, that's my best friend. No one messes with Cirie. I couldn't comprehend it. I was like, this is not the same Ozzy that we saw in Micronesia. In like, to me, Ozzy is someone who would still harbor the blind side from Micronesia all these years later. Like, we see him in 23. He's really not good at like not getting his way, and then like Game Changers, he's just kind of a lame duck. And so I do think this is the best we've seen Ozzy, and I'll be honest, I think he's in a really good spot to win right now. If he doesn't win, it's going to take something big to get him out of the game because he's working with almost all the sides. He's got an idol, and he's got Cirie. Like, he is set up at the moment. It's crazy. And so I agree. This is probably the best we've seen of Ozzy, and I would have totally bet against that when the season started.
I thought Ozzy would be out in the first three. Was making it far. Actually, I thought that was like one of the most questionable choices. I've made multiple TikToks saying, do we need to see Ozzy on Survivor 50? And I'm so grateful because he's a highlight of the season. Cirie's Wizard of Oz is maybe my favorite alliance of all time. The fact that between the three of them, an extra vote and two idols, and a challenge beast in Ozzy, a Maverick with idols in Rizzo, and Cirie Magic, I mean, they are really a strong trio. And at this point, the trio that I'm rooting for the most. I want them to be the final three.
I would love that to be the final three. I would be ecstatic. In 49, I was a big Rizzo fan. 50 has cemented that this dude is one of the greats. This guy came in to a season where he should have been dead in the water as soon as he hit the beach. He had no business integrating with any of these players, and his social game and strategic game has really shined this season against all-stars, against some of the best players we've ever seen. I am through and through absolutely impressed with Rizzo every single episode, and it's a joy to watch. That is 100% my favorite trio of the game. I would be thrilled if they made it to Final 3.
Yes. So for me, I feel like Rizzo is living the survivor dream right now. From starting his tribe with Colby, winning him over, right? Colby sees him as like a younger version of himself. Later on, he gets knighted by Coach of all people. Like, that is like a survivor bucket list cross right there. And then his core alliance is Cirie, who says they're married, by the way. And then he's got Ozzy, and he got to spend a night on exile with Ozzy. I mean, this is like the dream come true. I want Rizzo's survivor experience.
Even just the aspect of playing 49 and then like you get voted out, or you lose fire, and Jeff's like, we want you to come back in 10 days. Like, that is the biggest honor Survivor can bestow upon you. and it was for 50, this monumental season. And like I said, I do wonder how it looks if him and Savannah are both in the game for longer at the same time. But when she goes, he just starts to flourish in a way that, like, only like the Russell Hanses, the Malcolms, like these are huge Survivor names, and now it's Brizard, baby. It's etched in stone, and I am super thrilled for him. I don't know Rizzo like personally, but he is bringing it back to Spotlight. Rizzo is someone who has played a lot of online reality games. And so as someone who, before I went on the circle, was also playing these Survivor Big Brother games, I always root for the person who's like their passion was so strong. They were like, I'm not waiting for the call for Survivor. I'm going to go find somewhere online that I can play. And I think it is really showing just his strategic aptitude each and every episode, that he's not even just doing it with new players. He's not able to just bluff the idol, 7 times in a row. He's able to integrate himself with people that didn't watch his season, and they still are so gung-ho about working with him. Sari, Colby, Coach, like him saying, we slayed dragons at Tribal, we don't slay dragons at camp. That is an all-time quote, and I loved him at Tribal this episode when he like accurately called out Stephanie's BS. She was like, I'm not going around saying names. Rizzo's like, that's the game. Like, that is what we're all doing, and it's better to just own up to it than try to lie about that. And I was like applauding on my couch. I was like, Brizard, baby, let's go.
No, he's been so fun. He's been such a delight. And he starts the season off saying that he's here to make a name for himself. He wants to be a legend of the game. And at this point, I feel like he's already done it. Like, he's already like a top 10 iconic character to play the game just for what he's done in these past 2 seasons. And it comes down, he's so disarming. He's so charming. Yes. He wins everyone over. And at this point, his threat level is not very high, but he doesn't have nothing to say if he makes it to the final 3. Like, he has a decent bit that he can actually own up to at this point. So yeah, I love Rizzo in the game.
Look, is him sitting next to Ozzy and Sari his best move to win the game? No, but at the same time, because of his unknown quantity and factor, he has to play the game with people like that have a similar threat level. When the threat level is unknown, it skyrockets in people's mind. And so he made an accurate call that he's like, I'm not going to align myself with like the Tiffany's, the Emily's, the Camillas. Even he was aligned with some of them. I'm going to align with Sari, D, Colby, Coach. Like, he has to elevate his own threat level in order to integrate properly. He's got a mind for this where, like, that is next level thinking that, like, I really don't think many new era players come into a season like that and are able to accurately see their position in the tribe and then do the proper thing about it.
Do you think that Rizzo is the type of player to turn on Ozzy or Sari at some point? Do you think he does a crazy blindside and he gets Sari out of the game?
That is such a good question. I do think he is thinking about it in the back of his head. I will say we haven't seen it in the edit at all, so it's hard to, attribute what he's thinking and planning and doing. But I do think he knows he can't win against Sari. I wonder if he's maybe like a little more 50-50 on like the Ozzy of it. I do think Ozzy might beat him, but he might not see that out there. Like the game we're seeing from Ozzy. But I would be shocked if he's not, secretly like, I can't go to the end with Sari.
Yeah. Well, and this makes me think, for all the good and the bad that the season is giving us, where we are right now in the game, it's wide open. I mean, we've got people like Tiffany, Emily, and Rizzo are completely unknown factors at this point in terms of, I don't see them going home soon, but they can make a deep run. There's a lot of game left to play for them. Big people like Sari and Rick Devens and Ozzy are taking up a lot of the voice in the room. And then we've got Jonathan just kind of being in the mix of everything as well. This game can really go in any direction from this point forward, which is a great thing to say, when you get to your final 9 on Survivor.
Totally agree. I think it is, we've only got 6 days left in the game or what have you. So it is about to turn up. I imagine we're going to have some sort of double episode elimination. I don't know exactly what that'll look like, but And Aubrey actually pointed this out in this episode. She's like, there's 10 people left, but it really feels like it's like final 6. Like, we are here, we are there. And so that's a really good read on Aubrey, too, is like, this is about to move lightning fast. This is the time to make these moves that you want. And so, while I think she is someone that has really been on the back burner, this was a good Aubrey episode of like, and even like, well, while I'm not crazy about it, like her going to Jonathan and being like, hey, like we need each other in these situations. That is the right move to be picking up people on the outs, on the other side, what have you. And he clearly trusts her enough that like, and you know, this is the meat and potatoes of the episode, I feel like, but like Aubrey was there for the Ozzy plan inception that Jonathan and Stephanie really take the fall for. Aubrey really got that ball rolling of like, there's the people that are the safe vote, implying Rick Devens, and then there's bigger threats, and Jonathan was like, Ozzy. And like, so I'm not saying it was her plan, her idea, but she pushed the ball that started all the chaos this episode.
That's interesting because I was just about to ask you about Jonathan. I was going to make a case for Jonathan really being the one to set up Stephanie's undoing because, you know, he says, hey, Ozzy's going for you. Master gaslight tactic from Jonathan, which I think was echoes of how he treated Dee earlier on as well. I think he knows how to stir people up and get them like uncomfortable to start, going against their own selves essentially. But I was going to attribute that to Jonathan, but you maybe just took it a page further back and maybe Aubrey was the one who really, lit the match that got the crazy fire that was the beach scramble this episode.
I do think Jonathan lit the match, but Aubrey was like, here's a matchbook. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and so I think the Jonathan of it all is really interesting to me. I'm gonna try to take like my personal bias out of it because I'm not his biggest fan, but I can see what he's doing episode by episode, and I'm gonna give him some credit here. He preseason was like, I did a deep dive with the man, the myth, the legend, the real one, Boston Rob. He's like, I have studied the book. I've taken notes. I have read it. And I think it's really interesting because I do see, how do I put this? I see the framework of a Boston Rob game there, but something you can't teach is the charisma, the magnetic personality, the persuasion skills. And so, like, while he's got the moves, it's almost like a dancer. Like, he's got the steps and the moves down, but he's got no rhythm. It doesn't always fully manifest in the way that it should, if that makes sense. Because I think there is also, and I'm blanking on it, but the episode Chrissy and Coach go, he does something else. But both these episodes end with him having to vote out an ally. So it's like, it's there, but he's not getting the same results a Boston Rob would.
I think that's such a beautiful metaphor that you just painted because I agree. I've been a mixed bag on him. I'll say this. I hated Jonathan coming into this season. I just don't enjoy him. But he's won me over this season because even though like often I'm looking at him as the villain and what he's up to, or I'm not rooting for him, I have to admit that he's making good moves. And even when his allies are falling out, he is still maintaining in a decent enough spot. And
he's the biggest dude in the room, and there's no reason he shouldn't be like target number one at many of these tribals. And I don't think he's gotten a vote. I haven't checked, but I don't think he's gotten a vote all season long. And that's pretty crazy for a guy of his stature.
We haven't even heard people say his name as a likely target. We've seen people going for his grouping now with Coach and Stephanie, but he really hasn't been the target amongst that. And that is impressive. I will give him that credit. And I agree that he has taken everything he can from Boston Rob. But at the end of the day, Boston Rob is like, it's a 1 in a million chance of getting what that is, right? And I don't think that someone who looks like Jonathan can pull off a Boston Rob, right? Boston Rob works because he's a little bit out of shape. He's got the beer belly a little bit. He's the blue collar guy. Like he doesn't come off the same way Jonathan does.
Especially back in the day, Boston Rob didn't come off as smart as we now know he is. He was, hey, look, I got this plan. I'm from Boston. Like, he looked like a hockey player. Like, people are not attributing him as this, like, mafioso godfather figure that he is today. And so I do think, he's got the disarming aspects to his personality that Jonathan does not have. Jonathan looks like a survivor threat. And while he hasn't won an immunity, the less people there become, the higher chances he wins these immunities moving forward. And so, yeah, Jonathan has set himself up in a really interesting position where his name's not coming up, but he is losing allies left and right. And so it'll be a question of, is he able to swing? Can Jonathan play from the bottom? Is what it's going to morph into. We're not there fully, but like if he loses Joe and Aubrey, which I don't really see Aubrey going anywhere, but like say he loses Joe, he's really like, where do I go now? And that'll be where that'll be his chance to really prove like if he's got what it takes.
That's true, because he's been insulated so far, right? He's been surrounded by
Correct.
people where their names come up before him when they look at his alliance altogether.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
so we'll see. We'll see, because, like many people on this season in this cast, Jonathan has won me over. I am, a little bit, I can see it for him. I'm rooting for him more than I did at the start of the season, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And this episode was such a great one to, Final 10, like you mentioned, Aubrey said, this is basically the final 7. And I think that functionally it did work that way. Because not only did we see everyone's name get brought up this episode, but we got a moment from everyone's perspective amongst all the chaos. And it felt like a good checkpoint just to see where everybody's at. We know where everybody is leaning towards. We know who everyone's alliances are. And we got to see everyone's unique perspective this episode amongst a crazy scramble, the lights of which we haven't seen. I don't know the last time we've seen a scramble this crazy, to be honest.
So what was really good about this scramble, and why I would have been upset if the tails hit at the end, is a lot of times in Survivor now, they just like to show the chaos of the scramble. But I really like following A to B to C to D, and I feel like we really got there from like, okay, it's gonna be Rick. Oh no, just kidding, we're gonna do Ozzy. Just kidding, now it's on Stephanie. Oh wait, maybe we should flip to Sari. Rizzo's name gets brought up. I liked seeing how we get there. I don't really just like the random throw out of all the names and everything. And so this was a really well edited scramble, is I think part of why it was so enjoyable. Is one, it always comes down to the players. They're playing hard. They're accurately like, okay, if we steal Ozzy's vote and vote Sari or Aubrey, then he'll play his idol and we'll get like, they're really thinking on these levels, and we get to see that. And like you said, we checked in with everyone, and like we saw Joe also, speaking of another match that was lit here, he tells Sari, hey, we're voting Ozzy tonight, it looks like. Why, Joe? Joe is, so we're talking about like Jonathan and Joe because they're very clearly aligned. Yeah. I was really low on Jonathan coming into the season, and he has risen a little. I was pretty high on Joe coming in, and he is like dropped drastically for me episode after episode. It's been really surprising to see, and like even to the point where he looked upset that the prize money doubled to $2 million because Rick Devens didn't. Won. Yes, he looked upset about it, and like you need to check yourself at times like that. Like one person, it's the whole white whale, Stephen Fishback trying to get out Joe. You should never zero in on someone that much that you're putting blinders on yourself, and I really think Joe has done that here.
It's a shame. Joe is following the same trajectory we got out of Charlie earlier on this season.
Yeah.
Was probably the biggest disappointment on 50. I mean, I can't think of someone who I was more excited to see come back and play. And his entire narrative is centered around getting Rizzo out. And yeah, I mean, Joe has a little bit more going for him outside of Rick Devens, but I think when people think of 50 and Joe's performance on 50, they're going to think about his obsession with Rick Devens for sure.
For me, and part of it is not even just Rick Devens himself. It is very much like, and I think I maybe mentioned this, and if I haven't, Joe and Jonathan to a lighter extent, they really get like mad when people are playing the game in a way that like Joe is like a fish who's like mad that a bird is flying. He can't see game styles outside of his own, and if you're doing that, it's wrong. And that's just not how Survivor works. You know what I mean? And so it is really hard to like when Joe is just coming off of a very successful season. He was he's second place, almost won.
Yeah.
It's hard for him to come in here and say, I need to change up X, Y, and Z. but Survivor is all about adaptability, and it's about who you're playing with and all these things. And I feel like he's really boxed himself into, well, this is the way I played last time and it worked. That's the only thing that works. And it's hard to watch at times.
Yeah, it's weird that he seems to assign like some kind of moral alignment with people's behavior within the game, right?
Right.
He looks down at Devins as if he has some kind of ethical high ground because of how he's moving in the game. And from our perspective, Joe's just boring. Sorry to say it, but you're boring, and Rick Devins is giving us everything we want. Now, I am optimistic at the potential of Joe and Tiffany working together. I think that is a dynamic duo where if he falls in line with Tiffany, that they could actually make some stuff happen if he kind of can just swallow his pride and basically do whatever Tiffany says. But, Tiffany coming off the high of an individual immunity challenge,
right.
She's getting more screen time. I'm finding her, starting to creep up with some equity as well.
Yeah, I love Tiffany. I think Tiffany is a really fun player. My worry about a Tiffany, and I even think this applies to like an Emily Flippin, and it's nothing their faults, nothing they can do. I think in a season like 50, and when you look at the jury that's shaping up the way they are, I do think they are going to take Survivor legacy as a whole into account. And I just worry if like the Tiffs and the Emilys, like I think they, and maybe this is a statement about women in American society as a whole, but they're going to have to do like twice the amount of work to get that win, I feel like. But I am really loving what we're seeing of Tiff in this second half here. And so I enjoy seeing it. It looks like she's having a good time, whereas, her first time she was feuding with Q every other day. And so I think that regardless of how it works out for Tiff, it is really nice we're getting to see this side of her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to see a world where Emily or Tiffany win, right?
Right.
We'd have to have a pretty dramatic back half of the game here if that was going to be the case. But I think that both of them are cementing themselves as players that fans will want to see in the future.
Right.
I mean, Emily is capital T chaos this season and cannot keep a secret at all. And Tiffany has, for better or for worse, become like the audience self-insert point of view, right? Of all the chaos happening around. Maybe not as active as we might want, but it's been fun to see her for sure.
Totally agree. I totally agree. And I think that I'm trying to think. So like Tiffany and Emily, at this point, maybe a Joe. But so I do think there's inherently something interesting about like a runner up at the end again. Like, oh, wow, you've done it twice now. Like maybe that means something. Even like a Rizzo and Jonathan, like they made it to fire. It's not the right. end. But so there is just something inherently like, oh, wow, they've proven they can do this multiple times type deal.
Well, hold on. Now let's just say up to 4, right?
Yeah.
I think many of the players that are here have been to 4, right? I mean, we got
most of them, yeah.
Rizzo, Ozzy, Suri, Devins, Jonathan. Am I missing?
Yeah. Aubrey, that's no, yeah. Aubrey is a runner-up as well.
6 out of 9
of the season. When we started, it was 12 out of 24 runner-ups.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
And so I actually had a theory, me and my friend Alex Day, who helps me run Spotlight, we had a theory that at one point it was like a runner-up season. And they maybe were like, we'll just bring in whoever we want, like to fill in the second half of the cast, which I'm not complaining about. I do think a runner-up season could be interesting, but just the fact they have so many players that were just shy of winning before, I do think that was maybe a theme they were going for at one point.
Interesting. Okay, so I do have a few questions for you before we get out of here, Alex.
Yeah.
We saw that Stephanie went home. Do you have any thoughts or words for Stephanie? Something she could have done better? How did you feel about her game, her appearance here on 50?
I think there's a lot of things she could have done better. I don't think. How do I put this? I think Stephanie, and maybe not as, I've been reading her exit press today, and so maybe not as much as I once thought, but I do think Stephanie at one point in time considered herself like an all-time Survivor player, and I just personally have never seen that. Like, she's a runner-up from Guatemala, and so I think that she, like Aubrey, maybe was like, oh, I should have won. But I don't think she should have won Guatemala. I think she is fundamentally Survivor at its core is a social game. You can be the best strategist, like a Russell Hantz. You could be the most physically dominate, like a Jonathan or a Joe Anglim. The people have to like you if they're going to vote you for as a winner in the end. And I think she has always fundamentally missed that. And I think if we're talking about just like fundamentally misunderstanding parts of the game, we got that on full display here with Stephanie at Tribal Council. Doth do protest too much. She went around at Tribal saying, "Well, I don't throw out names. I've never said anyone's name ever. I don't make plans. I don't push plans." And it's like, Stephanie, that's the game. Yeah. What do you like? Are you just sitting on the beach like a bump on the log? No. We watched you go around today say a lot of different names. And I think where she's getting caught up is like, well, I didn't come up with those names. I'm just saying them. And it's like, tomato, Stephanie. Like, it's one and the same. If you come to someone with a plan, even if it's not your plan, you're playing the game, which this group it seems to like morally look down upon. And so I think there's like a cognitive dissonance of like, well, I'm not throwing out people's names. And it's like, but you are, Stephanie, you are. Even if it's not a name you yourself created, you're still pushing a name and a narrative. Like, that is the game. It was frustrating to see. And I think for me, hearing Rizzo really like correct her in a way was, to me, like, just such the stark difference in how the two play and how Survivor should be played. Like, when Rizzo was like, look, Rick Devens just said he threw out my name today. I'm not marching over there like, how dare you, you lying, scheming backstabber. Because everyone, that's what everyone's doing. How are you going to get mad about something that everyone is doing? And so Stephanie was not one I was super excited to see on the season. I feel like she had run her course. And, you know, now that she's out of the game, I feel a little vindicated in that opinion. I don't really feel like she brought too much to this season.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I'm happy she's gone. I don't feel like she brought anything to the season either. I mean, she had a cool solo challenge on that journey, and seeing her highlight reel, it is true that she's a badass. She has a badass
for sure.
Tribe of One, pop out the shoulder day one of Heroes vs. Villains. Like, she's
100%.
Cool. But yeah, of everyone they brought back, she the least seems like she has learned anything from her experience. This might as well be her first time playing the way she's treating it.
That is such an astute way to put it. Is I do not feel like Stephanie has learned anything in her 4 appearances from Survivor. This is her second lowest placement. Like, you know, even when she got to a Tribe of One, I do think that Tribe of One narrative has like carried Stephanie's legacy so much further than it should. When in reality, like, she got kept because they needed to win challenges, and she was good at challenges. Like that, she didn't outmaneuver and outwit everyone.
She wasn't controlling votes.
Right.
She just was the last one standing.
Right. And so I think that if I had to put money on it, I would have said Ozzy was the one who has not learned anything. Like preseason, he has shown tremendous growth over his time here, where Stephanie, it's like the exact opposite. And it's not like Cirie needed to change a whole lot, but I even think like we're seeing improvements in Cirie's game, which is just like mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah. I mean, Cirie's a human lie detector, especially when Stephanie's around. Because we watch this from Cirie's perspective, right? So we're getting this framing before we see Stephanie try to lie to Cirie. But from watching it from that perspective, it's so obvious. It's like a kid trying to lie to a parent. Like, Cirie just sees right through her. It's embarrassing.
It is, yeah. And like, I love how Cirie not only just says, oh yeah, I know she's lying, she like accurately calls out what she's seeing. She can't look me in the eyes. She's uncomfortable. I think that, to me, when I'm looking for someone that's lying, I'm twofold. I always look for like, does this lie benefit this person? Because sometimes, like, you hear something that's so outrageous and it's like, well, hold on, why would they lie about that? That actually is not benefiting anyone if they lie. So I'm looking for like, what's the benefit of if they're the motive? Yeah, I'm looking for the motive. And 2, people naturally, even the best liars, people are naturally uncomfortable when telling you a lie. And sometimes it'll be a little tell, and sometimes it's a large tell, like Stephanie's was. And so I really loved Cirie narrating that scene. And it's like we said, like, we just see that Stephanie is up to her same old.
Yeah. So yeah, all right, Stephanie. R.I.P. We'll see. We'll see you on the
Bye.
jury, I guess.
Yeah.
You can go have fun with Coach and Chrissy.
I do think that was part of what made this episode so enjoyable, if I'm being honest, is like if the Rick Devens coin flip happens and, my heart's racing and he hits it and then it's like, oh, but Aubrey or Emily end up going. I'd be like, oh, what was it for? But once again, Rick Devens, his fake idol play got Chrissy and Coach out, and now his coin flip is what... I love when we see a move and it actually has like a real impact. And so, sorry to lose Stephanie to the Stephanie fans, but like that is part of what made this so enjoyable here at the end of the episode.
Narratively, this is probably the best episode of the season because it opens to Rick being on the bottom. So we're setting him up to have this, conquering moment at the end. And of course, Stephanie going home just being the cherry on top here. Okay, my next question for you is the Mr. Beast, the super Mr. Beast Beware advantage, whatever we're calling it. Too many words. Take it or leave it. Do you want to see this again in future seasons?
Oh, that is such a good question. This is like a common Mr. Beast shtick. He I don't know how much Beast games you've watched, but he does this in his season. There's a coin, you can double the prize money, and so I think that this is so tough because results oriented, it was very fun. I enjoyed it. My heart was pounding. I stood up when it was heads. Like, those are the moments you want, but it also just doesn't feel like it belongs in a normal season of Survivor, if that makes sense. I don't like people going home from not a vote. That is very non-Survivor to me. So, like, in the new era, they tried the do or die twist a couple of times, and luckily no one got sent out that way. But, like, it just inherently feels wrong to me. Still, after all these years, like, fire making just inherently feels wrong to me. And so I think I would have to say leave it, even though I really, really did enjoy it for this episode. I'm not trying to say, like, oh, it was bad, leave it, it never should happen again. I'm saying it was fun for an all-star season, the celebration of it, the circumstances, and you know what? As far as the celebrity cameos have gone, Mr. Beast seemed like he really enjoyed to be there. He was kind of like honored, and like that's what I'm looking for when he's there. He got to sit in, the chair and watch at Tribal, like. He was as big of an impact as, and it's less of an impact than Jeff was pitching. I want to point that out. Jeff blamed all this chaos on Mr. Beast, and that is just categorically not what happened. So that was funny to me. But I think that of the celebrity cameos, twists, advantages, this one actually maybe was the best.
Maybe the best in all of Survivor history, not even just what we've seen on 50. I think this might be the best overall. They struck the right balance of not too much Mr. Beast. They actually left me wanting more. I was like, wait, let me get a confessional out of Mr. Beast. So, that was not the case with Zach Bryan, right? I think that even though that was I think overall it was a good
fun reward.
It was just too much, right?
Way too much.
I think they found the right balance. I think in the future it will be a great twist to hopefully bring back. Hopefully we get 100 seasons of Survivor, and on season 75, we'll see Mr. Beast come out of the woods, and it'll be an exciting moment.
That's right. Yeah. I think that it has its place in Beast games. I think that's like a good way to put it. Is the 2 seasons of Beast games? It is hyper exciting. It feels slightly out of place for Survivor, but goddamn, was it so much fun tonight? I can't lie about that.
So with our remaining final 9, who, go with passion here. Who are you backing the most? Who do you want to see crowned sole survivor for season 50 at this point?
Oh man, there's what I want and what I think is going to happen. I mean, after tonight, I just would love if Rick Devens could pull this out. I think it would be just such a crazy come from behind story, and the coin and the fake idol. I love. We've talked around it a little, but I absolutely love that fake idol at Tribal. I think that is one of the best moves we've seen in Survivor in years. It is. It takes forethought, it takes acting, it takes bluffing, it takes all the elements that I just love I just love that so much. So if Rick Devens could pull it out, I'd be so excited. That's who I want to win. Do I see him surviving, 5, 7, or 6 more eliminations? That's tough. I don't know if he can. who I think is winning at the moment, and I'm gonna say my friends are gonna sound like crazy because I never in a million years would have said this. I think this is Ozzy's game to lose at the moment. I think Ozzy is beelining for the final three, and I think if he's there with anyone besides Suri, he's got the strongest case at the moment.
Dude, I think that's pretty astute. Like, if he's in the final three, sans Suri, right?
Yeah.
Because Ozzy is someone who we have heard his name throughout the entire season. Ozzy's name has been thrown around from the jump and consistently throughout. It's always been one of the potential votes. So, people are aware of that. They know that this guy managed to get through the entire game. He's also had an active season, so that feels satisfying as well. He's done the journeys, he's done the competitions, he's earned the advantages. So, yeah, that would be very satisfying. I was going to say that this is Suri's game to lose, but I do agree that when we start looking at the final five, I do think they start looking at Suri a little bit more. And Ozzy has the potential for breaking the record for individual immunity challenges. We still have plenty of challenges to go. He'll probably at least tie it based on how things are going. So maybe this is Ozzy's season.
I think it very well could be. I want to be clear. If Suri wins, I would be ecstatic. I would love that. Best survivor of all time. And we haven't had a shakeup like that in like 30 seasons, in my opinion. I've been very firm in saying Parvati Shallow is the best survivor player ever for years. But if Suri manages to pull this out, I have to change my tune because she's just unbelievable at this point. And if she can find a way to sit in those final three chairs, I just don't see how we're not all just jumping up with joy for her to win. You know what I mean? She's done it on Traitors. She's done it on Big Brother. Yeah. Like I said, she's just
so proven.
She's so proven at this point that it would have to be her. And so just to go, so Suri's got the legacy. She decimates the Mount Rushmore if she wins. I think another interesting conversation here is Ozzy has been this much away from winning 2 other times.
Yeah.
He was 1 vote away from winning Cook Islands. 1 vote. Yep. 1 vote away. And then he's 1 challenge away from winning in season 23. It's very on record that if he's in that final 3, he wins. Like, there's not even a contest. And so, like, while he may not have while I think he's closer in comparison to, like, a Stephanie, like, game sense-wise, he's proved that he's learned that, like, okay, maybe my instincts on the game are not always the best, but I can surround myself with people that do have better game instincts, and that's a very valid strategy. That is not, like, to be looked down upon if he's trusting the right people to make good moves on his behalf. And we've seen Suri stick her neck out for him like 3 or 4 times now. So
they got each other's back. I want a friend like Suri, dude.
Yeah.
Like, she is defending him like crazy.
Yeah, it's one of her husband brothers. Yeah, it's challengers.
One of her 2 number 1s. She's not letting go of them.
Oh, it's great. No, it's great. And I would, if that was the final 3, Rizzo, Suri, and Ozzy, I think they're 3 of the best players this season. Also, I just think it would be so exciting for all of us to see.
I agree, and you've really convinced me that Ozzy is, like, really sitting at the top right now. He has actually a lot going for him. If Suri wins, I think we retire Survivor. I don't think there's anywhere else to go from there. I think that's such a good full circle journey, and, like, everyone is invested in Suri. Anyone from, if you watch this amount of time, everyone knows Suri's name if you're even remotely a Survivor fan. So that would just be, that would be amazing for my money.
She lost Fire her first time in season 12, devastating. Mm-hmm. She was a surprise final 3 boot in Micronesia. Devastating. Heroes Villains. Heroes Villains is maybe the only time the tribe has accurately dealt with Suri. Is like, we can't let her be here too long. And but they had to this is my stat. Oh my God. I hope everyone makes it this far in the episode. Suri Fields, in any game show she's been on, has never been voted out by a majority vote.
Okay.
So
I'm running it back here.
Season 12, I'll run through them all. Season 12, it's 2-2 that sends her home. Season 16's a bit of the wonky one. She only gets one vote in Amanda, but it's because Parvati can't vote. But it's one vote. It's a technicality, but it counts. Heroes Villains, they idle her out with 3 votes on a tribe of 9. Advantage Geddon in season 34, she gets 0 votes and is sent home. And then in the Traitors, she wins. Spoilers, sorry. And then in Big Brother, it's the final 5. And so the way Big Brother works, she only gets sent home with 2 votes. She is, and then in Australian Survivor, sorry for more spoilers, she gets sent home on a 2-2 vote and a tiebreaker. She has never been voted out by a majority of the tribe.
Wow. She's definitely, it's fair to say she's the most raw player in game show history. Heck.
100%. 100%.
This is karmic justice. The cosmos need to come together to make this happen. I mean,
if there's a time for it.
We need this. Let the earth heal.
I agree. Yeah, but it's almost like
climate change starts turning back and we get world peace. I'm sure of it.
It's almost like I can't get that far ahead of myself, because if I really buy into that she's winning, I'll just be let down by any other possibility of the season when there are still fun options outside of that, if that makes sense. So, it would be so exciting. But either way, her record, if she makes it far enough into the game, her record is going to stand in one way or another. It's just crazy.
True. All right, Alex, that's all the questions I got for you. We're just about at a close here. Is there anything else on your heart? Any burning things you want to get off your chest here for the audience at home?
No, just, I love talking about this, not only just Survivor, but games in general. Not even just social strategy games, board games. I just love games, and it's what prompted me to get into designing my own game. And so for me, I love talking about this stuff. I love dissecting it. Survivor in the last couple of years, production-wise, I feel like has really taken a turn that I personally, if I'm running the show, probably don't take. With a lot of the new era twists, the losing your votes, the journeys, the randomness of it all, it has taken a turn. But I think why it is so lasting throughout the times is it is just such a great game, and the cast always they are, that is one thing, is their casting 9 times out of 10 is just phenomenal, and it's really driven by that. And so no matter where Survivor goes, I'm always going to be a fan. Do I always agree with all of the production decisions? No. I have my own philosophy on how game design should work, and at times it really clashes with them. But I think it is just such a testament that 26 years later, and I'm just as big a fan as when I was 6 years old. When Colby hit my screen, he was another one. I was like, do we really need Colby again? He hit my screen, and I turned into that 6-year-old kid on the couch who was sobbing when Tina beat him. I was like, not Colby. I asked my parents if I could change my name to Colby. At 7 years old, I said, is that something you could do? They were like, when you're 18. And of course it never came through. But I just love the history, the legacy, the game, the cast, all of it. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy we were able to talk about this. And I guess that's my closing thought. I guess my real closing thoughts are, go check out Spotlight on YouTube, Instagram. If you love games as much as I do, I promise you Spotlight is going to catch your attention, because it's made by people that love this stuff just as much as you.
100%. And like I said, I am on episode 3 of Spotlight. Rumor has it I'll be on All Stars. That's just a rumor. But so yeah, definitely check that out if you want to get more of Alex. Alex, this was an absolute blast talking all things Survivor 50 with you. Hopefully we get a chance to talk again soon. Thank you so much for hopping on the podcast, man.
Of course. Of course.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.